This video is brought to you by IXL, used by millions of students worldwide to get ahead in math, English, and more.
In this video, we are going to learn how to construct a perpendicular line through a specific point. First, let's review a key idea. The perpendicular bisector theorem states that a point is on the perpendicular bisector of a segment if and only if it is equidistant from the endpoints of the segment. In other words, point X is on the perpendicular bisector of line segment WY if and only if the line segment WX is the same distance as line segment XY. Looking at this triangle, the line segments WX and XY are congruent, so point X is on the perpendicular bisector of line segment WY. Let's keep this theorem in mind as we construct some perpendicular lines. How do we construct a line through point A that is perpendicular to line AB? Let's think. We want a perpendicular line to pass through point A. Do you remember how to construct a perpendicular bisector? If we can create a segment of this line where A is the midpoint of that segment, we can bisect the segment to form the line that is perpendicular to line AB and passes through point A. First, we'll draw a circle centered at point A with radius AB. Next, let's mark the other point where circle A and line AB intersect. We will call this point C. Since B and C are both on circle A, we know that line segments AB and AC are congruent because they're both radii of the circle. So point A is the midpoint of segment BC, or in other words, point A bisects segment BC. Our next step is to draw another circle centered at point B with radius BC. And then we'll do the same thing on the opposite side of circle A. We'll draw a circle centered at point C with radius CB. Great! Now we just have to draw the line that passes through the intersection of the circles point D and the point on our line, point A. Okay, let's look at this figure carefully. Since points C and D are both on circle B, if we were to draw line segments connecting points B and C and B and D, they would be congruent segments. And since points B and D are both on circle C, if we were to draw line segments connecting points C and D, BC and CD would also be congruent segments. So line segments BC, BD, and CD are all congruent. This shows us that point D is equidistant from points B and C. Now remember, the perpendicular bisector theorem tells us that the set of points equidistant from points B and C form the perpendicular bisector of line segment BC. So we know that line DA is the perpendicular bisector of line segment BC. And since line DA passes through point A, we've constructed the line that passes through point A and is perpendicular to line AB. Great work! Let's do another example. How do we construct a line through point W that is perpendicular to line XY? This time, the point our line must pass through is not on the line, so we'll have to approach this a bit differently. We'll start by drawing a circle centered at point W with radius WX. Next, let's mark the other point where circle W and line XY intersect. We will call this point Z. Since line segments WX and WZ are both radii of circle W, the two segments are congruent. In other words, point W is equidistant from points X and Z. Now, let's draw a circle centered at point X with radius XZ, and another circle centered at point Z with radius ZX. As you can see, circle X and circle Z intersect at 2 points. Let's mark the point on the opposite side of line XY and call it point V. Great! Now, since points Z and V are both on circle X, line segments XZ and XV are congruent. And since points X and V are both on circle Z, line segments XZ and ZV are congruent. So line segments XV and ZV are also congruent. This means that point V is equidistant from points X and Z, just like point W. According to the perpendicular bisector theorem, the set of points equidistant from X and Z form the perpendicular bisector of line segment XZ. So drawing a line through points W and V, we get the perpendicular bisector of line segment XZ. And since this line passes through point W, we have the line we were looking for. Fantastic job! Now you are ready to construct perpendicular lines on your own.
Head over to IXL.com for more practice on this skill and thousands more videos in math and language arts.